Again, everybody, I'm Chris. I'm also at the countdown this week's 40 most played country songs in the nation, as compiled by Mediabase 24/7 for the chart week of December 7th, 2024. Got one debut on this week's chart, but before we get there, let's take a look back at last week's top three. Number 3 was Gonna Love You by Parmalee. Number 2 was Cowboy Songs by George Burge. And the number 1 song last week was Beautiful As You by Thomas Rhett. Now, can Thomas hang on to that number 1 spot again this week? We'll find out soon. First, we get the countdown started with newcomer Josh Rouse. He spends a 4th week at number 40 with Single Again. And here's this week's only debut, coming in at number 39. It's the 9th top 40 hit by Carly Pearce, the follow-up to We Don't Fight Anymore. Here's Carly with Truck on Fire. And with that one debut, we say goodbye to one dropper, and that's One Bad Habit by Tim McGraw. On with the countdown for a second week at number 38, the latest by Old Dominion, called Coming Home. Up 2 spots to number 37, Megan Moroney with Am I OK? For a second week at number 36, here's Scotty McCreery with Fall of Summer. Slipping a spot to number 35, Kelsey Ballerini and Noah Kahan with Cowboys Cry Too. Slipping 2 spots to number 34, Miranda Lambert with Wranglers. Falling back 4 spots from 29 to number 33, it's Chris Jansen with What You See Is What You Get. Slipping back 1 to number 32, Kelsey Hart with Life With You. And moving up 2 spots to number 31, it's Jason Aldean with Whiskey Drink. In his 13th week in the countdown, he spent the second week at number 30, Kenny Chesney with Just To Say We Did. Here's one of 2 songs tied for this week's fastest climbing hit. Moving up 8 spots to number 29, here's Blake Shelton with Texas. Slipping back 1 to number 28, Bailey Zimmerman with Holy Smokes. And here's the other song tied for this week's biggest mover. It moves up 8 spots to number 27, Jelly Roll with Liar. For a second week at number 26, here's Low Cash with Hometown Home. At number 25 again this week, here's Cody Johnson and Carrie Underwood with I'm Gonna Love You. At number 24 again this week, it's Cole Swindell with Forever to Me. At number 23, once again, here's John Morgan and Jason Aldean, called Friends Like That. At number 22 again, here's Dylan Scott with This Town's Been Too Good to Us. And for another week at number 21, Matt Stale with Breaking in Boots. All right, at the halfway point, here's Thomas Rhett with last week's number 1 down to number 20, called Beautiful As You. Up 1 to number 19, 12th week in the countdown, here's Jordan Davis with I Ain't Saying. Up 1 to number 18, Chris Stapleton with Think I'm in Love with You. Up 1 to number 17, it's Post Malone and Luke Combs, called Guy for That. Up a notch to number 16, Lainey Wilson with 4x4 by You. Up a notch to number 15, it's Riley Green with Damn Good Day to Leave. Up 1 to number 14, 37th week on the chart, here's Keith Urban with Messed Up As Me. At number 13 for the 3rd week, it's Dan and Shay with Bigger Houses. And for a second week at number 12, 22nd week on the chart, Tucker Wetmore with Wind Up Missing You. And just a step away from the top 10, up 3 spots to number 11, it's Morgan Wallen with Love Somebody. Alright, with the first of the 10 biggest hits, here's Kane Brown and Marshmello spending a second week at number 10 with their former number 1, Miles on It. And for a second week at number 9 with his former number 1, it's Shabuzi with a bar song, Tipsy. Slipping a notch to number 8 with his former number 1 hit, it's Morgan Wallen with Lies, Lies, Lies. And moving into the top 10, up 4 spots from 11 to number 7 from Dylan Marlowe and Dylan Scott. It's the first top 10 for Mr. Marlowe and the 6th top 10 for Mr. Scott. Their song is called Boys Back Home. Slipping a notch to number 6 with a former number 1 hit, it's Post Malone and Blake Shelton, called Pour Me a Drink. And easing down a notch to number 5 with his former number 1, it's Jelly Roll with I Am Not Okay. Leaping 4 spots up to number 4 this week, it's Cole Wetzel and Jesse Murph, called High Road. And leaping 3 spots from number 6 to number 3, it's Ella Langley and Riley Green, called You Look Like You Love Me. The number 2 song for a second week belongs to George Burge with Cowboy Songs. And the number 1 song in country music this week, it took 48 weeks to get here, and it becomes the 5th number 1 country hit for Parmalee. Their song is called Gonna Love You. And that is our countdown of this week's 40 most played country hits. Join me again next week. Once again, we'll count them down and find out who's got the number 1 country hit in the USA.